Virginia, are you helping me to? Oh, okay. Are you helping me to record this? Okay.
Yes, I'm unmuting. So recording is started. I'm starting Facebook now. I'll wait a moment. It will take a few seconds. I'll let you know when it's starting.
Okay, Ollie.
Hi. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to ACSM Online Week. And for throughout this whole week, you'll be having the various seminars and webinars. And we are very pleased to have Katrina here on board with us. And she's going to share about the topic on self-care as a coach, right? The importance of self-care as a coach. Now, I'm Ollie. Children call me Coach Ollie because I coach children on leadership. I coach children on being confident and being responsible and being driven as well. So I'm also on board ACSM as their membership, as part of their membership team, right? So Katrina, we are very, very lucky to have Katrina today. And Katrina is a medical doctor. Yeah, she is also an executive coach, integrative health coach, and coach supervisor based in Singapore. Welcome, Katrina.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We are really eager to start. Now, maybe just a quick sharing from you, Katrina.
Sure.
Why is this topic of self-care so important to you?
So me personally, I'm a doctor and a coach and coach supervisor, and I also teach coaching, health coaching as well. And I'm also a mom, and I also I have kids and a wife, and it can be a lot. So it can be a lot for everyone. And I think as a medical student, getting exhausted, not getting enough sleep, having burnout was the name of the game. And as I got older, had more experience. As I trained to be a coach, the realization for me really was self-care is so important. Yes, as a coach, but also, as a human being who has relationships, who has a family, who has friends, being able to show up focused and centered and present, has to come from when I take care of myself, when I take care of my needs. There is that saying, that the flight, that not a saying, but what the flight stewardesses say on the airplane, right? They say to you that, okay, in case of an emergency, if, you know, the oxygen masks come down, make sure you put one on yourself first before you put it on somebody else. And I think that is so important, because how can we give, how can we help others if we are not healthy, if we are not well enough or rested enough to do that?
Yeah, that's really true. I mean, as a mom and as a coach myself, I often have this challenge where I know I should be resting. I know that, you know, I should be exercising. I know all this. But when it comes to it, it's like, okay, my child is more important than me. You know, the work is more important. There's tons of things that needs to be done. And I always place myself last, right?
Exactly.
So how do we have that, you know, the discipline to really put ourselves first? You know, what's the mindset that we have, and how do you do that?
Yeah. So for me, my mindset, and believe me when I say I'm not perfect at this, it's a work in progress. But I think my mindset comes from the experiences I've already had. I know that the pace I would work, that, you know, I'm a very type A personality. I like to get things done. I like to achieve. But that pace is not sustainable. And the time lost trying to recover ends up even being greater than if I actually just took some time for myself. So my mindset has really changed so much to say that, you know what, I need to really take care of me first, because I can't give of myself when there's nothing to give.
You're right. You're right.
And I totally relate with what you just said about, you know, being a mom and working. It's like, if I could just have 48 hours in a day, that would be really awesome. But I don't. So for me, it's being able to apply and practice certain techniques, for example. And
again, sorry?
Certain techniques, certain practices that I've, you know, started to do for myself. So like I have a journal, a diary, and I have top 3 things that I need to do for the day. Even if that list is like 20 or 30 something down. But I just become realistic with myself. What is it that I can do for today? And allowing myself to be okay with that. Because, you know, I'm not a superhero. I'm not Wonder Woman. You know, even if I have this mentality that, yes, I can do it all. But knowing that I am human, I have limitations too, is actually very liberating.
Oh, that's really, really nice. I mean, like, that's true, you know, when we just set top 3, and then we just complete it, and then we feel like, you know, at least, you know, I've done this, and I can be satisfied, and I can feel successful, rather than I need to complete the whole 20, then only I allow myself to be successful. And I think with that, it also comes with prioritizing. A lot of the people say it's the 20-80 rules. What's the 20% of the work that you need to do to achieve the 80% results? And I guess when you think of just the top 3, focus on that top 3, you're focusing on the 20% that creates the 80% of the results.
Yeah, for sure. But aside from that, I think I wanted to elaborate a bit more. So that's more of like scheduling and prioritizing and, you know, taking care of myself in that sense and not overloading it. But I want to talk a little bit more about, you know, what is self-care?
Yes.
Because it's such a broad topic. It's a very popular topic. And it can be confused with a great, you know, many things. So I want to ask you, Ollie, so what do you think of self-care? What's your idea?
For me, I think self-care is about sleeping well, eating well, eating healthy, I think it's about prioritizing health. I think, like,
Yeah.
exercising. But I must say that I'm quite weak in this department.
Well, you're absolutely right. What you said.
Yes.
Self-care is basically any activity that we deliberately do to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health.
So it's mental, emotional, and
Emotional and physical health. And it's honestly so easy to overlook because to a certain extent, we will all function anyway without, paying attention to that. But in the long run, what we've seen is that it really affects our mood. It affects how we show up, how we relate to others. It affects how present we are. Can we focus? So it's really huge. It's really important.
Yes. So why now just now you were saying that it's really important, and I think you touched about why it's so important for the coaches as well.
Yeah.
Because they need to be present and focus and give 100% of themselves.
Yeah.
What are some of your challenges that you managed to overcome? Because in this area, because I mean, we all know how important it is. Frankly, that maybe we should exercise every day, but how many of us, honestly does? And a huge population don't. So how do you overcome that?
Oh gosh, how do you overcome that? I think for every person, there's a different impetus. There's a different, need or drive to do this. And I can share from my experiences. Gosh, as a medical student, I was getting 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night if I was lucky. And as you know how the story goes, at some point you just end up, very exhausted. And I think for me, that was the realization that I can't be at 100% for my patients, for my clients, for my family, for anyone, if I can't stay awake, if I'm just tired. So I think for me, the very big one is sleep. And you mentioned it earlier. Now it's about getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night. It's just really, I feel like I need to have that for me so that the next day I feel refreshed and energized. And how I do that is, on my phone, I set an alarm. So I think iPhones now have this thing that's called bedtime. So it says, so that's something, little reminders for yourselves to, be able to actually follow that schedule. I mean, come on, I don't follow it 100. I say I'm going to sleep by 10. Doesn't happen all the time. But then I try to be asleep at least by 11 p.m. So that's, that's the big thing. So having that reminder. And I think the big payoff for me is I feel the difference. I really feel it. Like, even, the way I look, the way I show up to people, the way I feel. Do I have enough energy? Do I have enough to give to others? Am I able to be centered and present with a client? It really makes a huge difference.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. And I think it is. So just now you mentioned that healthcare is, you take deliberate actions to take care of your mental, emotional, and physical. And you talked about, prioritizing, you talk about sleep. What else do you think we need to do?
So I think one major thing is being able to say no.
So true.
collective sigh right there. It's I am guilty about this. I will say yes even if I don't know where I'm gonna put it in my time, but yes, I'll do it because I want to do it, because I'm passionate about it. And sometimes that works, but are my yeses real yeses? Or are they yeses because I feel like I have to? but I don't really want to? Is this yes serving me? So I think being able to set your boundaries, being able to say no is a really huge part of it. Examples of this is, after 6 p.m., I'm not going to do any work. I'm going to have dinner with my kids. I'm going to, have a lovely conversation with them. Spend the next hour just connecting and bonding. And if that means, we're all busy. If that means I have to go do some work on my laptop after that, but having that set time for me and my family is just so important and so valuable. Another example is weekends, and how many of us are guilty of that. I was only able to do 3 things, so I'll do the other, 17 on my list on a Sunday, without really thinking of what are we doing to re-energize ourselves for the week ahead.
I see. So you take the weekends to re-energize yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who are there any people whom you coach around this area? What are some of the major challenges that they have, and maybe some of the major breakthroughs that they have as well? What some of the
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is just exactly what we talked about. Being able to put those boundaries, being able to give real yeses when they mean it, and to be able to say no. I think in our fast-paced society, we have so many things going on. We want to all be a part of everything all the time, that we just say yes. So being able to, really establish what are your priorities in your life. What is the vision that you have? What is the life that you want to create? What are the values that are important to you? And having that as what I call your North Star, guiding you to make your decisions. And then all of a sudden, for my clients, things become easier. Knowing what, where the compass is, pointing to, what road they want to take, makes it easier to, say no to the things that actually they're not serving them, or they're not working towards their goal, or what the kind of life that they want. That one is really huge. And interestingly, in the health point, sleep, a healthy diet, eating well, feeding your body, good food, not eating the junk food, the fast food, is really big. Hydration, cannot emphasize the effects of hydration, really. Just drinking enough water. I have other clients who are like, just drinking like 5 Starbucks coffees, like, work. So is that enough? And I'm like, okay. So hydration is huge too, and exercise. So I always say 30 minutes a day. That means walking.
I'm struggling to take 5 minutes a day. How do you carve out 30 minutes a day to do this?
I have a schedule, like I mentioned. I have my journal with my, schedule for the day. And it seems a bit obsessive, but for me, because I want to accomplish so much in my day, I really have to block out chunks of time. And that means blocking it out for the rest of the month. If it's 7 to 7:30 every day on my calendar, that's blocked out. Because if I don't do that, it will not happen. Another thing too is having a buddy, having a friend do it with you, is definitely encouraging. Knowing that, hey, I can chat with my friend for the 30 minutes we're on the treadmill. Or, honestly, you don't even need to go to the gym. Just walk outside, be outdoors. So that would be really great. Get some vitamin D too. Another awesome thing. So yeah, that really works. But I think blocking out the time is super important.
You know what, Katrina? I've got this challenge myself. I've blocked out the time.
Sure.
And I managed to creep in something else on that time. So I'm not too sure, it's like, okay, 7 o'clock in the morning, I've got something else that I want to do, or it's like, this is more important, or maybe I should just snooze for a while,
Yeah. So when I do have clients, who, that does become their issue, and I coach them through it, and, say to them, so what is the priority at the moment? Before you take care of this, it seems as if there's something else more important that you want to take care of. And it's not about right or wrong. It's just about what's the most important thing for the client at the moment. Because they may have XYZ things that in their head is more of a priority before this. So we talk about, okay, how do you handle that? What's going on there? And usually once they've handled that, then this will surface again.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah, I'm actually just thinking, because for some of the coaches who may currently be sleep deprived, right? I think there's a few challenges. Like maybe sometimes they didn't get quality sleep. So how do they get quality sleep? And I think the second question is that, sometimes they know that they need to wake up to exercise, but because they are sleep deprived, they tend to snooze in, So which is more important, sleep or exercise?
Wow. Great question. But and it depends on, I would say it depends on the person, on the other circumstances that's going on. But if I just take the circumstance that you just described to me and what it sounds like to me, it sounds like the sleep is really affecting all areas of the life. And I would ask, what's your sleep hygiene? When we talk about sleep hygiene, are you sleeping in a comfortable, cool environment? Is it stress-free? Is it free of TVs, iPads, iPhones, blue light, all that kind of disturbances that could wake you up? Is it dark? Is it dark enough? Do you have, really, is it conducive for you to get enough sleep? Also, that could also be connected to your diet. Are you, for example, having a coffee with your dinner? Yeah. So, make sure that you have your caffeine, even alcohol. I would recommend at least 6 hours before you go to sleep, because that could affect, how you feel about sleep later on. So all of those things are super important. And sleep is just so basic to everything else and how we function that I think it's something we really need to focus on.
Nice. Thank you so much for that. Also, I think so just now we talked a lot about, the physical part of it, how about the mental? How do you, mentally take care of yourself so that you can be fully present and focused for your
work? So I think, really all of these are so deeply connected: the sleep, the diet, the exercise. Because if we don't feed our bodies well, if we feed our bodies, rubbish, fast food and all that junk, if we don't sleep well, what happens is that we end up not functioning properly. We're more prone to stress. We get more prone to anxiety. We cannot think properly. Right? So when we're not getting enough sleep, we tend to be like, okay, I was about to say something, but I forgot. we get those moments because we just can't connect the dots, fast enough. And that's really, becomes, such a cycle of causing more anxiety, causing more stress. Not having enough sleep can also cause depression as well. Just because you're tired all the time, and then you're kind of wondering what's going on. So it's quite a lot of things, interconnected. And I think when we just take the time out to deliberately take care of our well-being, all of this comes full circle.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about, relaxation, mindfulness? Do you do things like that? And what would
Yeah, for sure. I think connected to your question about mental health and emotional health, connected is making time for connections for the people who support you. So connecting with friends, for me, it's having my girl time with my girlfriends. If it means you're just at the park having a walk, or having a nice picnic, or just being able to share what's going on for me, and offloading what's happening is so essential, really, and really helpful.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, so in terms of your, maybe you can, how does supervisor plays an important role to help the coaches in self-care? Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, definitely. When I did the course in supervision, I really honestly fell in love with it. Practicing as a coach for quite a while, and sometimes doing back-to-back sessions, it could be 6 or 8 a day, was really exhausting. And I still wanted to give so much more, but it kind of felt like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. And when I, started seeing my supervisor, I was able to talk her through with the issues that I had, in my coaching sessions. And because coaching is confidential, we cannot, of course, ethically, we cannot bring up any issues or any of the topics that we have from our coaching to anybody else. Having that supervisor being able to hold that safe space for me in order to, really talk about what was going on for me during that session, what occurred, what I felt went wrong or what I felt went right, was so helpful in order for me to receive insight and have time to reflect on how I was performing as a coach. And I think that has really helped me to be able to become more sharp, more present, more focused, and also be able to, I guess, be a bit more lighter, so to speak. Lighter in the sense that I know there is somebody I can speak to after all of this. I feel that is how supervision has helped me in my self-care. Definitely. It's really helped me in being able to, I guess, how do you say it? Let go of certain things that I might be ruminating on for a long time. In terms of, issues of my clients. Oh gosh, what could I have done better? Or I should have said that. And it's really very, very helpful.
Okay, so what I hear is that, with that supervision support, that it helps offload some of the emotional, the mental.
Yeah. Support. Yep. And you hit it right on the head there. The support I get, from my supervisor. And sometimes it's just hearing from her, the words that, what, it's okay. It's normal to feel that way. It's normal to feel overloaded. It's normal to feel overwhelmed. just having that assurance that, oh my gosh, it's not just me, I think is huge. So that connection, that safe space is so valuable. I think as coaches, it can be quite a solitary career in the sense that, it stops with us. The issues that our clients bring up, it just stops with us. And, at the end of the day, even if we say we leave all of these issues out there, we don't carry it with us. We are all human beings. We are all energy. At some point, there are going to be certain triggers. There are going to be certain issues that come up in the coaching that affect us, remind us of something, coming from our own experiences. And this is very normal. It's all part of us being all human beings. And I think, being able to go through that with my supervisor helps me, as a coach.
Yes, definitely. I think, Katrina, you have touched on a very important point as part of a coach, a lot of the times, because we are supposed to be so-called neutral, but we are human, so we
are human. Yeah.
And so sometimes when we are attached, or we are supposed to be detached, but while coaching the coachees, sometimes we how do we make sure that we are dissociated, we are detached, so that we can help the coachees even better. And also it will help us in our self-care, and we don't transfer their energy back to us, kind of a thing.
Yeah. So for me, as an empath, it's, I tend to absorb and feel other people's energies quite easily, so to speak. And for me, being able to determine my own space, being able to say that, okay, this is me and this is the other person. And I'm careful to say that because we still want to have enough connection. We still want to have the connection with the other human being, but we don't necessarily want to jump into their story. Right? As coaches, we need to have that objectivity, being able to be with them, but also see it, be their mirror, and also see it from a different point of view in order to help them. So I think that is very important. Something that I personally do in between coaching sessions, for example, my own self-care is I bring oils, like I bring peppermint or lavender, and I feel that energizes me. In between, just having that sense, a different smell. I also have a ritual for myself, which is I wash my hands after every session. And for me, it's like a very physical reminder that, okay, the session has ended. I've left that and those issues at this moment, and clearing myself and recentering to get into the next session, I think is very helpful for me.
Wow, that's a great tip. Yeah, I'll probably practice that from now on. It's really cool. Okay, so I think the other day we were talking, and then you mentioned something about we also need to remind ourselves to hold the container. Maybe you would like to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, I think sometimes I think especially when we haven't centered or not as focused in the moment, or we're not as present. It could be from many things. We're just tired or exhausted. It's very easy to jump into the story of the client. It's very easy to kind of lose, our role as the coach, and holding that container for the client, I think, is so important in order for, the client to really have a great coaching experience. And in order to hold that container, we must also embody the centeredness and the presence and the focus. Because imagine trying to hold that container when we ourselves are emotionally labile, or we are just tired and we can't really focus on what the other person is saying. Is very difficult. So, yeah.
Yeah. And, how do you know that, you need to have self-care? It's time for you to...
I think, yeah, that's a great question, really. And it all ties in with your own self-awareness. It's, are you paying attention to your body? Are you listening to the signs, that in medical terms, symptoms that you're having? Is it constant headaches? Is it, shoulder pain? Is it the nape pain? Is it not being able to sleep well, like you mentioned? Is it all of a sudden, at my last doctor's checkup, my blood pressure is getting elevated, or my blood sugar is increasing? These are all, signs that, hey, something's going on. Your body's telling you something. Are you aware of what your body is feeling at that moment? And are you able to do something about it? We mentioned in our definition of self-care that it is an activity that we do deliberately in order to take care of our mental, emotional, and physical health. What is not self-care is chomping down that burger, which was in front of you because you hadn't had breakfast or lunch and it's already 3 p.m. and you just want to feed yourself. So that's, also not the definition of self-care. So what are you consciously doing in order to really, really re-energize, take care of yourself? You talk about meditation, you talked about mindfulness. I'm a huge fan of all of that. And it can be in any form. Really, it can be yoga, it can be Pilates, it can be your exercise, it can be your walk, it can be many, many forms. But I think the biggest element there is, are you in that moment really aware and focused and knowing that this is what you're doing? Without
mindful.
Yes, exactly. It's really knowing that, okay, this is what I want to do and this is for what purpose, rather than doing it just because. Yeah. So there is no, to answer your question, relaxation, mindfulness, meditation, all really great. There's no perfect answer. There's no right way to do things. I think everybody has their own way of, being mindful, of meditating, and relaxing. For some people, it could be getting a massage. For some people, it could be, I'm going to watch my favorite show on Netflix. But is that something you're doing purposefully, mindfully, knowing that, yeah, this is how I'm going to relax? Or is it, I'm just too tired to do anything else? And I'm just going to do that. And I end up falling asleep in front of the TV. So, yeah.
Okay, cool. So just now you were saying that, when are you listening to your body, and the things that you mentioned are more of, the physical symptoms, and in terms of, headache and pains and all. Is there anything else that may show sign that, we need some help, self-care? Because sometimes it may not be as obvious as that, because I think if it's, quite physical, it comes up through this physical pains and that, I think it's quite, like, if you're not listening to it, then I think, okay.
Yeah.
It's quite, how should I say, it's quite obvious. And yes, people may still miss it, but are there any other subtle hints that you tell us that, hey, it's time. It's time to
I think I'm gonna put this. I mean, I could answer that in many different contexts, but in the context of a coach, from my experience, I see this when I'm like, okay, I ask my client, sorry, could you repeat what you just said? So my focus, is a bit lost in the moment, or I'm like trying to think, oh no, like, what did they say? I'm trying to connect, you know what I mean? And it happens, and it really happens to everyone. And being able to catch yourself there, that, oh my gosh, I wasn't as sharp as I wanted to be, in that moment. I wasn't able to be as present, or I wasn't as grounded or centered anymore. I mean, you want, something that is really tangible. It's results. For you, as a coach, are your clients happy? With your coaching, how are you showing up as a coach to them? I think is, a big sign, really.
Nice. Okay. So yeah, thanks for that. And we only have 24 hours, and as a coach, chances are that we are all achievers.
Yeah. Achievers and givers,
Yeah.
coaches, we all are. We want to save the world.
Yes, that's right. So how much time do you think is sufficient, to how much time does one need to take care of themselves? What's a
Yeah. It's a great question which I think does not have a definite answer, because I think it depends on your situation. It depends on your history. Have you been practicing self-care? The past, whatever, in your life, have you ever practiced self-care? How do you feel now? Are you always tired? Do you feel like you don't have enough energy to even get through the day? Do you feel that, your emotions are always like on the surface, like almost about to come out, like, so those are, so those, I think, is very individual, very situational. But for me, regularly, every day, taking that time, so 10 minutes a day to perhaps do some reflection, do some meditation, makes a big difference. Being able to have my exercise, my Pilates or my yoga, is really huge. That's, me time. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good point, because I think we talked a little bit about, how you do self-care, but maybe you want to share with the audience,
Sure.
what's your routine in self-care? In the morning, what do you do, so that, if anyone were to emulate,
Yeah. Gosh, well, first thing I'm going to say is I'm not perfect at this. I am still a work in progress. But something that I really do try to do is, if not 30 minutes a day of the walking, treadmill, exercise, 7 a.m. to 7:30. I have that time. Sometimes, really, I don't have time to go to the yoga studio. I go on YouTube. And, I so many yoga classes or meditation classes there. And, I'm in my living room and doing that. And that energizes me, for the day. I try to schedule my work during the day when my kids, are in school. And I try, and like I said, it's not a science. This doesn't like happen all the time, but I try to, accomplish all of that before they, get home. And when they get home, have that time with them. It's either do their homework, really have dinner with them, have, conversations with them, get to know what is happening, who are their friends, what happened in school, what did they learn, have a conversation with my husband too. It's really important. And, have my downtime at night. There are days too when I have to work. I'll be on my laptop for another hour or two, maybe. And then there has to be a hard stop. I think that's the big thing. That can be different times for other people. For me, I try maybe 10 p.m. hard stop. The rest will be done tomorrow. And I know I need that to be at my best the next day. Otherwise, I know I will miss things. I'll forget certain details. And there are prices to pay for that as well. So for me, taking care of me, making me the priority works well and the best for me and for my family and the relationships I have.
Well, I think you just hit a point there. I think like a lot of the people, we may think that we take the short-term gain, and we say that, let me just finish this first. Once I finish this, I'll rest later. I'll just finish this. But what we are doing is, what you're saying and what I'm hearing is that when we choose that, we are choosing the current or the short-term gain.
Yeah.
We forgot and we forgo the importance of, the longer term. Tomorrow, are you going to be functioning well? Or the whole of next week, are you going to be functioning well?
There are prices to pay for that. And, sometimes we have to do the short-term thing. We have to pull the all-nighter. But what are you aware of how you're taking care of yourself after that? Because once you start pulling the continuous all-nighters, once you never take the time to recover, then you start spiraling into, really not, you'll eventually get sick or your immune system will crash.
True. Okay, great. So one more question is that if say, someone, a coach doesn't have a lot of time, don't have 10 minutes. They have 1 minute. What can they do with 1 minute?
Wow. Breathe.
Breathe.
Breathe. Take deep breaths. Really take a, deep inhale, a long exhale, and just focus on that. For that 1 minute, let it just be about the breathing. And that amazingly can really help you to be re-energized and be re-centered and help with your focus. I sometimes actually, I do that in the beginning of a coaching session or a supervision session. I just, invite the client or the coaches to just take a minute and take a few deep breaths with me. And it really helps to clear the energy and open that space for new things to come in, rather than bringing all the clutter and all the energy from elsewhere.
Okay, that's really nice. And in a short moment, I think we'll be opening up for any questions.
Sure.
So feel free to, type your questions onto the message bar or to the Q&A or to the chat box at below, and I will be able to answer your questions. So, Katrina, just now you were saying that, I think we have got one question here.
Oh, sure.
And it talks about, I think we mentioned this a little, what kind of practice would be useful to take care of ourselves after a coaching session? Because sometimes you could be drained or affected by a coaching.
Yeah. I mentioned this excuse me. I mentioned this earlier. For me, what I do is I, have my oils, and that's, a ritual. So this is my ritual. I'm not saying this works for everyone, but it's, just a suggestion. What ritual could you do for yourself to know that, okay, this is the end of it, and it's going to be the beginning of another coaching session, or it could be on to another activity. But having those oils, having that sense really lifts my spirit, lifts my energy. I mentioned washing my hands.
Yes.
Is really helpful. Like washing off, it's kind of like washing off the day, that physical, act. It could be also in medical school, we're taught how to, in surgery, right? We're taught how to wash our hands a certain way. That could be where I got it from. That's one thing. Or having a mindfulness or a meditation practice, I think would also be really helpful. In terms of, just having that 10 minutes to yourself, to really, in a way, be able to separate you from the session, and not needing to bring all of that energy, with you, I think is really important. So the effect of what ritual works for you, I think, is huge. Another thing about, we mentioned about being drained or affected, thinking, is this session really affecting me, in that moment, or is it something that I'm carrying with me throughout my day, throughout my life, to my other coaching sessions? There are certain, I guess, triggers or topics that are very personal to us. And my suggestion for that is, to bring it to your supervisor, to bring it to somebody you can actually speak to and trust, and, in confidentiality, in order to resolve whatever trigger, whatever issue that it made for you.
Yeah. So it's more like being aware of yourself. Something has triggered me. And maybe this is a great thing to bring to the supervisors so that, you can address it, look deeper into it.
Yeah, for sure.
We have another question.
Sure.
From Virginia, and it says that, what about the mental load when we are not being present in the moment? How do you handle, when you realize that maybe you're not present in the moment, how do we handle this to increase our self-care?
I think you hit it right in the head. Is that, are you even aware that you're not being present? See, but that's the big thing. Once you've found that awareness, once you say, oh my gosh, I'm not really listening, I'm not really focused, I'm not really centered, are you able to pull yourself back and find your center and say, okay, from this moment, I'm really going to focus? So I think really awareness, self-awareness is key. And that, to be honest, takes work, takes practice.
Yes, definitely takes a lot of practice. And I think the more we practice, the more we get clear with, the things that either triggers or, what could cause our presence, and how can we then...
Yes. And that's something you could speak to your supervisor about. If you notice certain patterns, if you notice that every time a client brings X topic up, I get a somatic reaction. I suddenly get ulcers, or I get a headache, or I feel, heaviness on my shoulder. And, being able to debrief that and talk about that with your supervisor, recognizing that, and then deciding, okay, how am I going to handle this moving forward? How am I going to handle this? What are the strategies, I can do? What are the interventions I can take? I think is really, really useful.
Nice. And I think that really is very apt to sum up what this session is all about. It's about self-care. It's about how do you take deliberate actions to take care of your mental, your emotional and physical well-being, and how, you know, supervisory role does help to allow you to have more self-care, because now you can free your emotion, and you get more strategies, and you are you know, you are aware of what's the trigger and a lot more other things. So thank you so much, Katrina, for this wonderful session. And I just like to share with our audience here, you know, the next session, the next webinars is going to be at 8 p.m. We will have John Francois, and he will be sharing I Am What I Am. I am my own special creation, right? I think I will share this slide with you right now on what is upcoming for the next session. So you can see on your screen right now. Yeah, at 8 p.m. it is Sean, and she's sharing I Am What I Am, I am my own special creation. And on Friday, tomorrow at 10 a.m., we will talk about reflective learning and psychological mindedness by Sim Chu Ku. Okay, Sim Chu, right? And at 8 p.m. tomorrow as well, we will have typical ethical dilemmas we face as coaches, and that is by Dr. Francis. Okay, so we really like you to continue to join us online and live on Facebook as well as Zoom platform. And after this ACM Online Week, all about growing you as coach. Now, each supervisor, they'll offer you to go deeper in the subject and allow you to scan your practice around the specific topics that we cover. So for example, every Friday, there will be a scheduled supervisory session. So for all the different supervisors that has come on board and will be coming on board, they will have 3 separate sessions spread it all over till, you know, November or December. So you could pick and choose the session that you like, and you know, you can bring your own case, and share it with the supervisors. So in terms of the pricing for this series of 3 group supervisions, for the ACSM members, it's only 1,000 ringgit. For the EMCC APR members and ICF Malaysia member as well as IAC members, it is only 1,500 ringgit, and for non-members it is 2,000 ringgit only. So all the details and supervisors as well as their dates are available under the link that I am sharing now, acsm.asia/services/group-supervision-series. Okay, so that's the link. Feel free to sign up so that you can get your group supervision to move you to the next level in terms of your coaching, right? All right, so that's the announcement, the last announcement that I have to make. Thank you again, Katrina, for being so, you know, so helpful and so insightful in all your sharing. Thank you so much, Katrina, for being
Thanks
here.
for having me. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, thank you, and see you again.
See you. Bye.
Bye.